Just move on straight into our next segment, and we'll be talking about promoting a knowledge-based society. I have a very lovely gentleman with me here in the studio, and he will be telling us in depth exactly what this means and how Ghana can achieve this. He is in the person of Professor Joseph Silva Senior. He is a professor of political science and also a distinguished university administrator all the way from the United States. He served as the provost and vice president for academic affairs from the Clark Atlanta University and also president of Alabama State University. Professor Silva is an avid believer in the promotion of knowledge-based societies, and he will tell us exactly what that means. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here.
It's real pleasure. It's a real pleasure to be here.
And I understand this is not your first time in Ghana.
No, I've been coming to Ghana for
Right.
about 25 years.
Anyway, still, welcome to you.
Thank you.
Hope you're
Thank you.
enjoying your stay.
I am.
Okay, so let's get straight into it. What is the definition of a knowledge-based society?
Well, essentially, the knowledge-based society is using technology and innovation to address the complex problems of society. The difference is that the information that is used is for the better good for the entire society and not just one segment. It actually evolves from the West when we talk about the agricultural society, the industrial society, the technology society, the information society, and now we're talking about the knowledge-based society. Now it's more looking at the intellectual and the creativity of individuals to solve problems, but also to address the issues in society, with education being the base of all of this, education and creativity.
Right. So now you're in Ghana to give a speech at the AUCC
Yes.
on this very
Yes.
topic. Why?
Well, I was invited here by the Honorable Kojo Yanka to become the commencement speaker for the AUCC graduation ceremony. They graduated some 496 students in communication and business. And the university thought that it was an appropriate topic, given the fact that these young people are going out into the world. And basically, we wanted to talk about how do they prepare themselves for the knowledge-based society. Because in many countries, there is the continuum between the agricultural society and the knowledge-based society. So what we're trying to do is to help these young people focus in on their role in the knowledge-based society and how they prepare themselves.
Okay. In your view, are African societies, or even Ghana, let me just restrict it to Ghana for now, are we endowed with the needed infrastructure to get to where you're talking about?
Well, if you recall earlier, excuse me, in my comments, I mentioned that some countries are at a continuum, all the way from the agricultural society to the knowledge-based society. Ghana is one of the countries that is on that continuum. There are some aspects of the knowledge-based society, but there's also some aspects of the agricultural society. What we're advocating is the opening up of the educational process from secondary school, elementary school, even to tertiary, to make sure that they are preparing the students to participate. The infrastructure has to do with not only the language issues, but also technology itself. And so Ghana is well on its way in some segments, but I think where we need to focus here is making sure that the masses of the people are brought to the same level of understanding and knowledge. Because basically the internet, the mobile phones, have really brought the world closer together. So the information is out there. And what we're saying is information used right is power.
Now, a knowledge-based society, I guess, predominantly would mean that a society that is well educated and would also rely on its citizenry to drive innovation and entrepreneurship. But I don't know if you follow the educational system here in Ghana. It's not where we'd like for it to be. So with regards that we lack a lot of very basic things, what do you think we need to do in order to get to this knowledge-based society that we strive for?
That was one of the things that I was advocating in my speech at AUCC, is that governments and cultures are going to have to put more emphasis on educating the masses. Because when you begin to look at the comparative advantage of participating not just here in Ghana, not just here in Africa, but participating in the world community, you're going to be competing against individuals who have these comparative advantages. So therefore, it's incumbent upon countries, not only Ghana, but all countries in Africa, all countries in the world, to make sure that all of its citizens are educated. We talked about the fact that in some countries, women are at a disadvantage in terms of the education system, but yet and still, they outnumber men in many categories. Say, for an example, even at AUCC, there were more women that graduated this time than men, and that's good, because in terms of the knowledge-based society, it is important that everybody in the community, all citizens, have access to proper education. So it does mean that you're going to have to invest more money in terms of the infrastructure, in terms of computer technology, innovation, and using those to screen creativity. I gave an example in my speech of Tyler Perry, who is a great filmmaker in the United States. He was actually homeless and had no place to stay. But that did not stop him from being a creative individual. Someone gave him the opportunity. He also empowered himself through education. And now he's come from homelessness to one of the media gurus in the United States. The point that I made is that he just made a $100 million investment in Atlanta for the film industry. From homelessness to $100 million investment that he's creating jobs and opportunities for other folks. So you can't write anybody off. You have to make sure that as many people as possible are educated and given the opportunity to use their creative genius.
Right. Now, speaking of opportunity, what are the developed countries, or what should they do, such as America, doing to help some of these underdeveloped countries attain knowledge-based?
Well, one of the things I'm very pleased about is our president, Mr. Obama, has made Africa a real priority in his agenda. President Clinton did the same thing. I think they really understand that if we are going to be citizens of the world, we have to make sure that the knowledge and the wealth is shared. So I think that Mr. Obama has really understood that the connection between America and Africa will help both sides. And I think that is the approach that countries should use, not to come in to exploit, not to come in and have one over the other, but to come in as partners and address real problems. I personally believe that the problems of most of the world are going to be solved through Africa.
Okay. From where you sit now, do you believe that the knowledge is being shared equally? Do you see Ghana as being part of the global village, or are we even poised to getting there?
I think so. I think when you begin to look at Ghana from a historic standpoint, you're still living on the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah, who was an absolute brilliant individual. And the whole issue of Pan-Africanism that he talked about is still a part of the conversation today. So Ghana is seen as one of the countries in Africa that can begin to be a model. You have a stable country from a political standpoint for the most part. You have a diversified economy for the most part. But I think now what you're going to have to begin to look at, which is the same thing that we have to look at in the United States, is making sure that education is afforded to all citizens, and that the information that is being shared over the internet via technology is also made available to those individuals, not only in Accra, in Kumasi or Tamale, but also in the villages.
How would you advise us to prepare our youth and our graduates to prepare them for this knowledge-based society?
Well, one of the things that I was sharing with the wonderful and brilliant students at AUCC is that it's not only obtaining the knowledge, but it's how you apply the knowledge. One of the things I was asking them to do is that they should take ethics and integrity with them in terms of the workplace. But it's not only in the workplace, it's also in their personal lives. Because if you have the knowledge, get the position, and then you end up doing corrupt things, then to what gain? So what I'm saying is that they should use the knowledge that they obtain to address issues here, generic to Ghana, but also the world. Eradication of poverty, for an example. Making sure that folk have enough food to eat. we have the intellectual capacity to address these issues. So I'm saying use those principles that you gain, not just for selfish gain, but for the better good of the larger society. And that's what the knowledge-based society is all about. Not getting information for one's personal self, but getting the information to address complex problems in society, to make society a better place.
Right. So ethics and integrity is key to being
Very
a
much so.
knowledge-based society.
Ethics and professionalism and integrity are key, because what we've seen is that once people get to certain positions, sometimes they are prone to make bad mistakes, bad choices. So what I was trying to help the students understand is you make good choices, you normally have good consequences. You make bad choices, you have bad consequences. But the main thing is that you are trying to empower people. So one of the things I was asking them to do is, even in the workplace, make sure that if you are a supervisor and you're overseeing workers, treat them with dignity, treat them with respect, treat them with empowerment, give them opportunities to move forward. Don't press them down or degrade them, because what we're trying to do is create a system in which you use the knowledge to empower the people. And if that's done, everybody will rise.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. Professor Joseph Silva is the managing partner at Silva and Associates, and he's also was a provost and vice president for academic affairs at the Clark Atlanta University, and also president of the Alabama State University. And he is here this morning to speak to us about promoting a knowledge-based society. Thank you very much once again for your time this morning.